In this lesson, we're going to go over polynomial arithmetic, or another way to think about it is distribution. So our objectives are we're going to learn to add and subtract polynomials as well as multiply polynomials and make sure everything is simplified. So polynomials, poly means many, polynomial means consisting of many terms. So up on the screen, I have some examples of polynomials. 8x squared minus 4x plus 1, x minus 5, 7x cubed plus 9x squared minus 5x minus 11. Okay, so when we add and subtract polynomials, we need to make sure we combine like terms. And a review, so like terms have the same base and exponent when you're going to add them together. So essentially, terms are alike if you can add them and combine them into one. So for instance, like apples and oranges, we can't combine that into one, right? But we can add 5 apples plus 3 apples. So we want to make sure that our terms are like before we're combining them or putting them together so that we can put them together. Some examples of not like terms are terms that have different exponents such as below. So 4x and 4x squared, those are not like terms, so you can't add those and make them into one term. 3x and minus 2, again, if you were to try to add those or subtract those, you would still have those two terms present because we can't combine those into one. Okay, so example 1, simplify. So we have 3x squared plus 2x minus 1 plus 5x squared minus 8x minus 6. So there's no operations that we can do in the parentheses, and we're adding. So really when we're adding, there's like a, you can think of it as a 1 here that you're just distributing to all of the terms, or a 1 on the outside, or we can just start with dropping the parentheses because there's no operations to do with them. So this becomes 3x squared plus 2x minus 1 plus 5x squared minus 8x minus 6. And I'm going to underline our like terms. So 3x squared and 5x squared are like terms. 2x and negative 8x are like terms. And negative 1 and negative 6 are like terms. So this can be rewritten as 3x squared plus 5x squared plus 2x minus 8x. And I always go in descending power order, but as long as your signs are correct, you can go in whatever order you want. So this becomes 8x squared minus 6x minus 7. Okay, or there's different ways to write this. You could write it as negative 7 minus 6x plus 8x squared. Notice my signs are the same. The 7 is negative, the 6x is negative, and the 8x squared is positive. Simplify, so we have 5y squared plus 3y minus 1 minus, this time, 7y squared plus 6y plus 4. So when we're subtracting off that entire set of terms. So it's 5y squared plus 3y squared minus 1 minus that entire quantity of 7y squared plus 6y minus 4. So again, you can think of it as a negative 1 out in front, and in this case, we distribute the negative 1 to all of the terms. So we have 5y squared plus 3y minus 1. Negative 1 times 7y squared is negative 7y squared. Negative 1 times 6y is negative 6y. And negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. And again, you combine your like terms. Just going to underline them. So in this case, we have 5y squared minus 7y squared. That's negative 2y squared. 3y minus 6y is negative 3y, and negative 1 minus 4 is negative 5. So this would be your final answer. And again, you can switch up the order as long as the signs are correct. And the terms, of course. You'd still have to have negative 2y squared minus 3y minus 5. So when we're multiplying polynomials, that's the next set of topics that we'll talk about, we have to remember our rules of exponents that we talked about previously. Okay, so in this first one, multiply and simplify your answer so that 6x is being multiplied to the 5x and to the 7, or it distributes to the 5x and the positive 7. Okay, so this is 6x times 5x plus 6x times 7. Okay, so 6x times 5x, remember 6 times 5 is 30, and x times x is x squared. Okay, you can write ones here if you want, and remember that you're adding those together because you're multiplying bases with exponents. Next, in this case, we have 6 times 7 and just x. So this is our final answer, 30x squared plus 42x. Multiply, simplify your answer. So in this case, the 8y cubed is distributing to all three terms in the parentheses. So 8y cubed times 6y squared. And then we have 8y cubed times negative 3y. And then we have 8y cubed times 2. Okay. So I'm writing this all out. You might be able to do this in your head, which is okay. Remember, it's always good to show your work, so I know your train of thought. But for now, we're going to simplify. So 8 times 6 is 48. Y to the third times y to the second is y to the fifth. 8 times negative 3 is negative 24, and this is y to the third times y, which is y to the fourth. Remember, there's a 1 here. You can put that there. And then 8y cubed times 2 is going to be 16y cubed. So here is our final answer. Next, we're going to multiply. These are called binomials, meaning two terms. So we have a plus 4 times a minus 6. And we're going to go over what's called the FOIL method, and I'll also show you a couple other ways to do this problem as well. But FOIL only works for problems that look like this. So we have binomial times a binomial, or two terms times two terms. And it's an acronym to think of an order in which to multiply. So the F stands for first, the O stands for outside, the I stands for inside, and the L stands for last. So the first two terms would be the first term in the first set of parentheses times the first set in the second, and you're multiplying those together. So this is a times a, which is a squared. O stands for outside, so the two outer terms on the very outside. So this is a times negative 6, which is negative 6a. Inside means our inner terms, so this is 4 times a, which is 4a. And the last terms in each, 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. And then you would add these all together and combine like terms. So this would be a squared minus 6a plus 4a minus 24. Negative 6a plus 4a gives us negative 2a. So here is our final answer. Okay. There's a couple other ways that you can think about it. The homework will specify when to use FOIL. The important thing is that you know how to distribute. So one other way to think about it is the a goes to both the a and the negative 6. And then the 4 goes to both the a and the negative 6. 4 times a plus 4 times negative 6. Okay, so you can do it that way as well. And in a later slide, I'll show you a way to set up a chart too. That'll work for multiplying these as well. Okay, so number 4, find the product, simplify your answer. So I am going to use FOIL here. So we're going to start with our first terms, 2 times 6. Outside, 2 times negative 3y. Inside, and last, 5y times negative 3y. Okay, and now we simplify. So we have 12 minus 6y plus 30y minus 15y squared. And so if we combine our like terms, this is going to give us 12 minus 24y, plus 24y. And then this is going to give us negative 15y squared. Okay, so you can leave it like this, or again, you can reorder it. Just keep the signs with the correct terms. Okay, a few more examples. So we have parentheses x plus 7 squared. So the entire base of this is x plus 7. So this is telling us that we take x plus 7 times x plus 7. Okay, so here's what that looks like. And then we can use FOIL. First, outside, inside, last, which gives us x squared plus 14x plus 49. Okay, note that this is not x squared plus 49. We just multiplied it out. X plus 7 is the entire base, and that's why that doesn't work. So when you have something that's squared like that, make sure you write it out to see the correct multiplication. Okay, next find the product. So we have 4y to the fourth times 4y plus 3 times y minus 4. So there's a couple different ways you can do this. The first way is you can distribute the 4y to the fourth to 4y and 3, and then we have 2 terms times another 2 terms. Or you can take this portion, multiply it together, and then multiply by 4y to the fourth at the end. So that's what I'm going to do for this one. Okay, so I'm just going to star it, and I'm going to leave the 4y to the 4th off to the side for a minute while I use FOIL on 4y plus 3 and y minus 4. Okay, so 4y times y is 4y squared. 4y times negative 4 is negative 16y. 3 times y is 3y. And 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. Okay, and then I'm going to simplify. Okay, and remember we had a 4y to the 4th outside. So here's the place where I'm going to add it back, and now I'm going to distribute it to each term in the parentheses. So this is going to give me 16y to the, not 4th, to the 6th. Remember we add exponents. 4y to the 4th times negative 13y. So 4 times negative 13 is negative 52. Y to the 4th times y is y to the 5th. And then we have 4y to the 4th times negative 12, which is negative 12y, not negative 12, negative 48y to the 4th. So this is our final answer. Okay. To set it up the other way, if you want, I'll just show you how to begin it, and then you can take it from there. We can take 4y to the 4th and multiply it just to one of these sets of parentheses. We can't do it both because then we're multiplying it 2 times when it's only appearing once. So this is 16y to the 5th plus 12y to the 4th. Okay, and then we would still have y minus 4, and you can use FOIL or distribute the way that you are comfortable doing. Okay, the last one that we'll talk about is if we have a binomial times a trinomial. So there's a chart that I'm going to show you. You can take 5x times 3x squared times 6x times 5 and add it to 5 times 3x squared, 5 times 6x, 5 times 5, but I'm going to show you a chart that my students like, and either way you'll get the same answer. Okay, so I have two terms, so you can write them to the side or to the top, either way is okay. So my 5x and my positive 5 from these parentheses is going to go here. And then I have 3x squared, 6x, and 5. So to get this square here, we take 5x times 3x squared. So this is kind of like a grid, okay? So this is 15x to the 3rd. 5x times 6x is 30x squared. And 5x times 5 is 25x. Okay, and then again we go down below. So 5 times 3x squared is 15x squared. 5 times 6x is 30x, and 5 times 5 is 25. Okay, so what this grid does, or what this little chart does, is it gives us all of our terms, and you can either combine terms right away in here, or you can write them all out. So this is going to give us 15x cubed plus 30x squared plus 25x plus 15x squared plus 30x plus 25. And then we have some like terms. And so putting it all together then would give us 15x cubed plus 45x squared plus 55x plus 25. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me.